Good evening, everybody. My name is Alena Shautsova. Tonight is Wednesday, 9 o'clock, and we have our legally speaking seminar. And today we're going to be talking about whether or not you should bring your case to court. Basically, if you would like to sue somebody, or we will focus on two different aspects. I'm going to be talking on the topic of immigration case and civil case litigation. And my colleague Anthony Calori, if he will be able to join us tonight, he's going to be talking about criminal case, whether or not you should try your case in court and present your case before the jury. So let's start with immigration cases. Immigration cases usually are not litigated in court. Why? Because immigration law is an administrative law, and most of the issues are resolved either by a USCIS or a USCIS officer or by an immigration judge. So the immigration case rarely would start with the court proceedings. However, in certain circumstances, a person who is applying for immigration benefits, or somebody who is affected by the USCIS decisions or decisions by an immigration judge, that person may bring a lawsuit in a federal court. How do you make the decision? Is it worth it for you or not? Will you succeed? Should you do this? How much is going to cost you? When a person is faced with a possibility of taking his case further to the to the federal court, the person usually is trying to answer for himself all these questions. So first of all, each case is different, and each individual circumstances will be different. And of course, it's best to meet with an attorney, maybe 2 or 3 attorneys, to determine whether or not a person should be applying, should be filing his case with a civil federal court. For example, somebody who is waiting for a decision on a naturalization application may want to go to federal court to force the USCIS to make a decision on his or her application. Well, usually, as most of the immigration clients or people who are dealt with the immigration services, they would know that immigration petitions are not decided the same day, not decided the same month. It takes months. But what to do if the case is taking years? And you try to contact USCIS on many occasions and it's just not happening. You do not have a decision. And that probably will be a good example of when you should go to federal court, because under the law, if your case is pending for more than 6 months, you can file a petition with the federal court to ask the federal judge to order USCIS to make a decision on your case. Mind that you do not have a right, or the court will not order a positive decision on your case or negative decision on your case in this situation. But what I'm talking about is a petition to force USCIS to do the decision. Another example of going to federal court to decide your case would be if you're filing an appeal. In immigration case, sometimes the case is being decided by immigration judge, and then there is a Board of Immigration Appeals. This is the first appellate step. But certain issues of law can be appealed to the higher court, federal court, and then in certain situations it would be a good decision to go there. There are other cases when somebody affected by a USCIS decision would want to go to the federal court. For example, what if an employer filed an H-1B petition for an employee and received some decision that on its face or clearly does not correspond to the law and facts? That would be a good example of when somebody would consider suing USCIS Of course, there is an issue of time and money, there are deadlines, but in most of the cases where a person can prevail on the fact that government mistreated the person or entity, in that the government did not uh, or somehow violated person's rights, the attorney for the plaintiff will be able to recover its fees from the government. It is a very important factor because it helps a person who is aggrieved by the situation to find an attorney who will be willing to help that person to bring the case in federal court. It is important because federal court is not like most of the courts that a regular person would be dealing with. I would say that most of us, the biggest experience in the court somebody would have if when they try to defend a traffic ticket, or when they go to a small claim court trying to sue somebody for a small amount of money. Rarely a person who is not an attorney will be able to maintain sufficiently and legally and factually and with different preparation and the form a lawsuit in federal court. And that is why it's very important to try to find and get an attorney's help as soon as possible when you believe that your rights were violated. That's portion about the immigration cases, how to decide whether or not you should go to the federal court. So number one, it's the stage of the proceedings, it's the type of the proceedings and decision, and whether or not it would be worth it for you, time-wise and money-wise. Do you have to pay for an attorney, or attorney will take it on contingency, and how long would it take? In many situations, when a person is dealing with immigration issues, a person can simply refile the application. Sometimes it's not possible. So it all have to be taken into consideration before you make a decision of suing the government or appealing the judge's decision or proceeding with some other petition before the federal court. In terms of employment cases, one of the other areas of law that I help people with is employment discrimination. And the way we decide with my clients whether or not we want to sue in federal court, we talk about the following factors usually. Number one, how important it is for the person to prevail, how badly the person is hurt, and how much the person's damages are. If the person is ready to make this controversy public, because every lawsuit that is filed in court is going to be public information, and nowadays with the internet and everything is so readily available to everybody, when somebody is looking for a job, and that person's name will be Googled by a potential employer might be able to find that lawsuit that you filed against your previous employer. Are you ready to face that? Are you ready to deal with this? Another thing that we speak about is our opportunity if the employer offered or would be willing to offer an alternative dispute resolution program. What it is a mediation or arbitration. Mediation is different from arbitration in that arbitration is a more formal proceedings than mediation, but both of them are private proceedings, and they give a person an opportunity, an employer an opportunity to resolve the controversy privately without the publicity of the lawsuit. Also, those two options, they usually save money for both the employer and employee. So we talk about that. Would you like to try this first and then go to court, or what would you want? Of course, the court and the judge has more, probably more power to order both sides to comply with certain deadlines, to comply with discovery rules, to comply with other procedural frames of the lawsuit and of this way of resolving the controversy, because whenever somebody wants to sue somebody, it means that there is a controversy. People are not happy. Something happened that one party believes that that party was wronged. So the lawsuit is just one of the ways to resolve this. And it's important to know that you have alternative ways, and it's important to know how and when you should come to the point that you would like to sue, basically. In terms of attorney's fees for employment discrimination cases, if a case is a strong case, most of the lawyers would take it on contingency basis. Basically, it means that the lawyer will recover his or her fees after the client or after the case is resolved. And if the case is not resolved positively, then the attorney will not be able to get his or her fees. But the client always is responsible for the cost of the case. It's a filing fee, it can be a fee for the service, and some other fees associated with the lawsuit. So if the case is not that strong, then some attorneys will say, okay, you can pay me initial retainer of that much, and then I will take it on contingency, or I can set a hourly rate for you, or some other terms. Each attorney sets his or her own terms on representing a client. There is an attorney is under no obligation to take any case on contingency basis, especially employment discrimination cases. Those are very complex cases, and that employment discrimination law, civil rights law, is still developing, and it's a very complex area of law. Now, when you take a case to court, you should be ready to face a jury. So it should be one of the factors that, and I'm talking about employment discrimination cases right now, it should be one of the factors that a person takes into consideration when they decide to sue somebody. Are they ready to go till the end and face the jury and tell their story? Is there anything in that person's closet that might negatively affect the trial? All those issues have to be sifted through with an attorney before the lawsuit is filed. Time frame for the lawsuit also is very important. Can you wait? Are you ready to wait for 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years if the case is brought in state court, not federal court? Will you be able to deal with this for this long time? What do you need to do to deal with this for that long time? All this should be discussed with an attorney. So the bottom line, when you take a case, when you make a decision to sue somebody, you have to understand that it comes with a responsibility. It's a responsibility, financial responsibility, responsibility in terms of being truthful, being in compliance with the court rules and rules of discovery. You cannot just start the lawsuit and then not respond to the other side's demands and think that everything will go away and everything will be fine. It doesn't work this way. So it is a lot of work. When you make this decision, it's going to affect your life. You have to be, an attorney has to be truthful about it. Suing somebody for whatever reason, it's not something that should be taken lightly. It's going to stay with you till the rest of your life. If you're going to be suing someone else, most of the time they're going to be asking you in subsequent lawsuits, have you ever sued somebody? But of course, the benefits of the lawsuit is compensation of damages. It is satisfaction if you win the lawsuit knowing that you were right. It is the fact that you were able to prove and hopefully deter the wrongdoer from what they were doing. Very often in employment discrimination cases, a plaintiff would ask not only to be compensated for his or her damages, but also would ask for an order from the court so that the court will stop the employer from doing illegal practices. I cannot tell you how many clients would come to me and they would say that I do not want what happened to me to happen to my daughter. I do not want it to happen to other people. And I think it's also an important benefit of the lawsuit that the employer will likely to correct his or her mistakes, or its mistakes if it's a corporation. So all these factors, a person needs to be aware of all these factors. A person needs to work with his or her attorney to see if bringing the lawsuit will be the right decision for them. If you have more questions about this, if you have your cases or you're thinking about suing somebody, bringing the lawsuit or resolving any controversy, I will always be happy to go over the process with you and consult you on different stages of the lawsuits, because lawsuits develop, they have different stages. It's a filing, it's a service, it's then waiting for an answer or motions, then it's discovery stage, and then we go to pretrial stage and trial stage. So there are different stages, what's involved. I will always be happy to talk to you about this and see if it's going to be worth it for you. Sometimes if you do not have a strong case and your maximum recovery can be maybe $2,000-3,000, and it's going to take 2 or 3 years of your life to do it, well, then it's probably not worth it for you. So it all depends. You can always find me at www.shautsova.com. For employment cases, now we have a separate website. It's www.workharassmentattorneys.com, and hopefully we can talk about it, and we will help you to make your decisions and make the decisions that you as a client, as a plaintiff, will be comfortable with. Thank you for joining us today, and everybody should have a nice evening, a nice weekend.